Hi, my name is Jamie DiNicola. I'm a recent graduate of Rutgers University. I majored in women's and gender studies and political science, and I am also the co-founder of Transmissions, which is Rutgers' first ever transgender student organization. We were able to pass the preferred name policy. Now trans students are able to use their preferred name at Rutgers University because of the work that our organization has done. So, yeah.
Dear Mom and Dad, I thought writing a letter would be better since every time I try to say it, the word just will not come out. Maybe it's because I'm apprehensive as to what your responses will be. Maybe it's because I think you will be disappointed and let down. Or maybe it's my own insecurities that are making this more difficult than it has to be. I am not telling you because I want your opinions on the matter, although it would be nice if you supported me. I am simply telling you out of respect because I think it is only fair that you know. I have been taking testosterone for the past month, and if you have not already noticed, my voice is starting to change.
This is my voice 2.5 weeks on T.
This is my voice 13 weeks on T.
My facial hair is starting to come in, and most importantly, I am so much happier. It's like being able to go through the puberty that I know I should have gone through the first time. Instead of having to slouch my shoulders to hide my newly formed breasts, I now find myself walking taller with confidence.
I understand it might be hard for you to explain to some of your friends and even the rest of our family, but all you have to do is tell them to think back to my childhood, when I didn't even know I was a girl till the age of 10.
But I think it's important that I am happy rather than caring about what other people think. If I continue to care about others' expectations, I would still be a miserable man dressed up in a red prom dress. I no longer want to hide behind others' expectations of what my life should be. I was born in the wrong body. I was supposed to be born a boy, and for some reason I was left a boy inside but a girl on the outside. I would like for nothing more than to enter the world and know that everyone else sees what I have always longed to see when I look in the mirror. It's a constant friction between my mind and my body, and I'm reminded of it every time a polite waiter says ma'am or miss, or every time I receive an imposing glimpse from a curious stranger. Although it might seem like I am going through a lot of pain, I still have been able to find a purpose. I have been running a transgender student organization at Rutgers, and I am really passionate about trans activism. I'll be attending a transgender youth panel where I will be talking to younger trans kids about my experiences, and I'm hoping I'll be able to help them because I know how hard those years can be. Little things like that made me feel like my pain is not all for nothing, that I am doing something useful and good with it. I know it might take some time for you to get used to all of this, but I'm hoping you'll join me for a consultation with the surgeon at the end of this month.
So how's it going?
It's good. On the way to Boston.
How's it going so far?
They're crazy.
Are you excited? Are you nervous? Why are you nervous? I love you.
I'm tired of slouching my shoulders and wearing t-shirts at the beach and being disgusted and confused when I look in the mirror. I would really like your support through this, and it wouldn't be the same without you guys there. I know it's really hard to hear that your little daughter was never really happy with that title and that things will be changing drastically.
They don't leave my sight. Okay, you put on a documentary. I got my rosaries. From Metrotomia.
Where did you get them?
Nina brought them for me when she
Those are
went
from
to
Yugoslavia, right?
Yugoslavia. They go.
Just gonna have them around my neck when I'm getting my surgery. Please move these out of the way.
But I hope you will put my happiness at the forefront of what other concerns you may have. I love you both very much. Your son, Jamie.
The definition of transgender to me means someone who does not identify with the gender that they were assigned at birth. So, for example, when you're born and you have a certain set of genitalia, let's say you're born with a vagina, and the doctor automatically wraps you in a pink blanket. I find that incredibly problematic and actually kind of traumatic. So I would say that transgender are just people who do not agree with that and who live outside of the gender that they were forced to be at birth. My definition of feminism would have to do a lot with the queer movement, particularly like third and fourth wave feminism, because a lot of my ideas about the gender binary, the transgender community, all have stemmed from my studies of the queer movement, specifically in the past probably 20 years or so. So my definition of feminism would pretty much be the belief that the gender binary is a complete social construct, and that individuals should be able to express their gender in whichever way they feel comfortable, and that the equality between not only men and women is there, but also that there's an equality of people who do not necessarily live within those very strict binaries. The relationship between transgender individuals and the feminist community would definitely be that the transgender community would not be where it is today without the feminist movements that have happened in the past decades. Without like first, second wave, third wave feminism, especially, we wouldn't be able to have this level of freedom of expression to be able to live outside of the gender binary. So a lot of the work that the early feminists have done have really been laying the groundwork that the transgender community is now, working up towards. So I think that without feminism, the queer movement would definitely be lacking, and I think that now the transgender community is more capable of living its truth because of the feminist work that has been done before them. I think that people change their gender because it's what's true to them. Like, since I was assigned, female at birth, I never really identified with that. I was forced to identify with that for a really long time, but I felt super uncomfortable. And as soon as I had a word to explain what I was feeling, I decided to transition. And it's been a really interesting journey, and I definitely have learned a lot about societal expectations of gender and a lot about people's perceptions of me. But I think that people change because it's what's necessary for them to have a better quality of life. A lot of the problems, I think, comparatively amongst the transgender community in the United States and in the Middle East would just have to be the sole fact of sheer resources. I believe we have more transgender resources in the United States simply because there's more overall acceptance. And I think that has to do with a lot of things, both economically and ideologically and religion based. Um, because I personally actually know someone from Turkey who's really struggling with their trans feminine identity because there's just absolutely no resources for them. Because in order to be trans, you have to change your name, you potentially have to get surgeries, you have to get a doctor who knows how to prescribe hormones. So it's not just you transitioning, it's really you transitioning with the resources that are available to you. So I would have to say that the United States, comparatively, is a lot further ahead of the Middle East in terms of the transgender community. And I don't think that that's no one's fault. That's just the sheer ideological differences that the places do not share. I guess the transgender experience would be a lot like everyone else's experience of life. It's just a little bit different. There's more struggles, I think, honestly. You have to worry about what type of bathroom you're going to use, if people are going to know that you're transgender. There's also the factor of violence. Transgender people are, I believe it's 40 times more likely to be assaulted. Transgender people are 80% more likely to commit suicide. So the statistics are really staggering. However, I can only speak from my own experience, and I have had a pretty relatively easy transition because of the privileges that I've had and because that I've been able to put myself in a very queer and accepting community. And I think your experiences really depend on where you are, unfortunately, because you could be in a very, very unaccepting place, or you could be in a place that really accepts your identity. So I think it really depends on your location. The term queer means to me basically having the ability to live outside these very strict ideas of what sexuality means. So the fact that if you like men, you have to identify as, if you're a man and you like men, you have to identify as gay, or if you're a woman and you like women, you have to identify as a lesbian. I think those are really limiting terms. So for me, queer means the ability to explore and liberate your sexuality the way it's supposed to be, and gives you the ability to, I think, live outside of the very strict notions that we have conceptualized in our society. And that's not just in the US, that's everywhere in the world. So queer really just means looking at things in a lot more open perspective. And yeah, I think it's a really liberating term. And it's very political as well. It has a lot of political connotations to it. My definition of gender would definitely be different than a lot of people's definition of gender. whereas I see gender as a social construction, something that our culture has invented as a way to organize people into like neat little boxes. So everyone who has this set of genitals is going to be in this box and they're going to be women, and everyone who has this type of body is going to be a man. And I don't think that the world is that black and white. I think that things are a lot more complicated than that, and gender has to do with how you socialize in the world, how you view the world, how you see yourself, how you see others. So I like to think of gender as a very fluid and malleable thing. Um, and the fact that I identify as a transgender male, I guess, makes me see the world in a very different way than most people, I think. Um, and directly correlated to the idea of gender would be like preferred pronouns. So in my organization, what we do is we'll go around and we'll ask people what their pronouns are, because you never want to assume what someone's pronoun is unless you actually know for sure that they're comfortable being called he or they're comfortable being called she. So I'll use gender neutral terms like they until I actually know their pronoun. Me personally, since I identify as a transgender man, I go by male pronouns like he, him, and his. And I think that that's something that's not done enough, and that should be something that's more mainstream. There are several Middle Eastern feminists that I do look up to. One would be Huda Sharawi. I learned about her in a class that I took, and I was really interested in the work that she done. She fought for the end of polygamy in Egypt. She fought for women's rights. She actually took off her veil, which was like a really historic moment in the middle of a train station in Cairo. I think that Middle Eastern feminism is very different, though, from Western feminism, because I think just the basic ideals of individuality, individual expression, are very ideologically different in both these regions of the world. So I think that a lot of the work that Middle Eastern feminists have done currently is just trying to maybe relook or redefine the ways in which the Quran is apparently patriarchal. So I think they're trying to find ways to examine that are not necessarily viewed in such a derogatory way. I really admire that about Middle Eastern feminism in particular, and I think a lot of the work that Shawari has done in the past has really changed the way Egypt looks at women. What's been effective in changing the status of women, I think, across all geographical borders would probably be the feminist work that has happened I mean, from the US, it's happened in the Middle East, it's happened everywhere. Um, I think really effective campaigns have been women organizing for their legal rights to vote, women organizing to equal pay for equal work. Those are all just, I think, like really fundamental human rights that um, have slowly changed the way individuals view women's status in society. And I think that there's still a ton of work to be done, but I think that social justice and social campaigns don't happen overnight, and they take a lot of people, a lot of ideological changes, and a lot of time to make happen. Traveling as a transgender individual brings with it a lot of, I guess, a lot of differences than most people have to deal with. For example, I had to get a letter from my physician saying that I had undergone sexual reassignment surgery and I had undergone hormone therapy in order to become a man, which is problematic for a lot of different reasons, because I don't think you should have to prove your gender to anyone. I think you are who you claim yourself to be, but that's besides the point. So basically what happened is I had to bring the letter to the passport agency, and then they were able to change my gender on my passport and on my birth certificate. So basically, if I were to travel, all my documents would say male. They would have my name read as the way it is now. Um, and there shouldn't be any issues. I mean, obviously there are some complications in the fact that I do take testosterone every week, so I know in some countries testosterone is considered like a controlled substance, so I would probably have to get some sort of doctor's note prescribing me testosterone, which could present, I guess, a lot of problems if I were to be in a country that maybe was not accepting of that. So I think that there's a lot of unique challenges, but there's also a lot of unique insights that come with being a transgender individual. In order to, I guess, change your gender, which is a really subjective term, because obviously that means a lot of different things for a lot of different people. But for me personally, I can talk about how it actually costs a ton of money to be transgender and to transition. And for people to view me as male, it actually took like a lot of work and a lot of money and a lot of time. And I think that I'm very privileged to be able to have transitioned. For example, testosterone, which I take every week, cost me about $70 for about a 4-month supply. So I'm not good at math, but whatever that is per year. And you have to take that for the rest of your life, conceivably. And then I got top surgery, so to get like pecs, and that was around $7,000, not including the travel cost to get there, hotel to stay there for a week. I had to travel to Ohio to get surgery, and yeah, and then changing of wardrobe, I guess, that probably costs another couple thousand. Changing of your name in New Jersey costs approximately $400, which is why Rutgers now has this policy where you can change your name online with Rutgers. So, because a lot of students obviously don't have the money, and that's a huge safety issue for Rutgers trans students if they were to go to class and they were called to call out the wrong name, and that could potentially lead to a lot of tragic incidents. So it's really important that communities have a preferred name policy. Besides name changing, also changing of documents costs money. So to get your new passport, it's about $100. To get a new birth certificate, it's about $100. So yeah, it adds up for sure, and it's not cheap to be transgender. So now that I graduated, a lot of the work that I did while at Rutgers University was starting the organization, doing all the policy changes, and now that that's come to an end, now that I graduated, I am now working on the Trans Calendar Project, which is a project where they have trans artists, trans photographers, and we come up with a calendar every year. I'm also working on a website called justqueers.com, which would basically be sort of like gives you capabilities to find queer individuals, like-minded individuals in your area, to find like-minded, like queer-oriented businesses that would be willing to hire trans and queer people. So yeah, there's a lot of cool things in the works, and I just hope to continue to do queer activist work because it gives me a great sense of purpose and significance, and I think there's a ton of work to still be done.
Shouldn't freedom and individuality and all those things also extend to people who just happen to be gay, who were born gay? They weren't made gay. Wouldn't it be great for the president of Iran to say, you know something, everyone's entitled to be whatever sexuality they are born to be? That would be a great symbol of freedom.
Do you really believe that someone is born homosexual?
Yes, I absolutely believe that. Yes, I do.
I'm sorry, let me ask you this. Do you believe that anyone is given birth to through homosexuality? Homosexuality ceases procreation. Who has said that if you like or believe in doing something ugly and others do not accept your behavior, they're denying your freedom? Who says that? Who says that? Perhaps in a country they wish to legitimize stealing.
You are a father of three. You are a father of three children.
A few percentage of the...
You have 2 sons and a daughter. What would you do if one of them was gay?
These things have different ways. The proper education must be given. The education system must be revamped. The political system must be revamped. And these must be also reformed and revamped along the way. But if a group recognizes an ugly behavior or ugly deed as legitimate, you must not expect other countries or other groups to give it the same recognition.
What do I think about this video? I think that Ahmadinejad has a huge misunderstanding about sexuality and gender, but I mean, it's not his fault. He hasn't taken any gender studies courses. But I think that he doesn't understand how innate sexuality is to every human being, and I think everyone has the potential to love every person, and it doesn't matter what gender they are. I think that that's an incredibly cultured way to look at things, like an incredibly social construction way to look at things. Things are not black and white. You can't just separate people in between 2 boxes. The world is made up of billions of people, and to claim that you can't love someone because of the fact that they have the same equipment that you do is, I guess it's a very regressive way to think about things, and I think in this day and age we should be looking forward and not looking backwards.